Right, so a few weeks ago, I put up a video that was um, talking about what villains I would want to see in a Spider-Man sequel game, and now we know that there is going to be a pseudo sequel in the form of Spider-Man Miles Morales. And the video that I made wasn't tailored towards a Miles Morales game. So I'm going to come in here and just give out five, not villains that I want to see, but five things that I want to see in Spider-Man Miles Morales. So without further ado, roll the intro. Yeah, Spider-Man Miles Morales seems pretty spicy so far. We've seen next to nothing about it. We've seen the costume that he's going to have, and it looks spicy. It looks cool. It looks good. It looks sleek. But yeah, it looks like a really good game. And of course, Insomniac's doing it, and Insomniac always do good games. And the last Spider-Man game was amazing, so this one should be again amazing. But what are five things that I want to see this game do that the last game probably didn't? The last game didn't. So the first thing that I want to see is better, better side missions and better side characters. I want to see the side missions actually link up with the story a bit. We did see that with kind of the Tombstone stuff in the first game, but it wasn't like nothing you did like chasing down Tombstone. You didn't feel like you needed to do that for the story to actually make sense. With this, I think that that the villains that you take down as a side thing should really either spin out of the story or link back up with the story, and something that happens in the story is a direct result of you either doing this side thing or not doing the side thing. Um, Also, what I want to see is the removal of all the Silver Sable stuff. The Silver Sable bases were horrid to do in the first game, and I do not want to do them again. It's too difficult. You have the ATVs that come in and they just kill you in one hit, and it's insane. I do not want to see that in a sequel, and it wouldn't make sense thematically for it to be in a sequel. The next thing I want to see is possibly two playable characters. I don't think that should happen in this one. Maybe save that for Spider-Man 2 and have the ability to play as both Miles and Peter. But I wouldn't mind seeing if Spider-Gwen showed up or Spider-Woman showed up, or maybe someone outside of the Spider-Man family. This is probably a stretch, but I just want to see expansion of the universe, because the first one was just Spider-Man and we get the tease of Miles at the end. If this is going to be just full Miles, I want there to be teases and not just Easter eggs of a wider universe, seeing the Sanctum Sanctorum, seeing the Avengers building. I would like there to be actual plot significance to there being a wider Marvel universe. Because if the Avengers game is in canon with this universe, if they're in the same universe, then why not have the Avengers show up, or not the Avengers as such, but kind of like, why not have like Hawkeye or Black Widow show up in this, or what would be cooler, because we see a lot of red. The goons that we see are red. We see that weird sword that lady's I think it's a lady is carrying. That kind of leads me to think that the Hand might be in this, and the Hand has something to do with Wilson Fisk. Wilson Fisk is the main villain of Daredevil. I would love to see Daredevil pop into this game. I don't necessarily think that will happen. Like, if this isn't a like wider universe thing, then Daredevil probably won't show up. But just the fact that it looks like they're putting the Hand in this game, just the fact that they already have Kingpin, I feel like Daredevil has to pop up, and then Daredevil's going to get his own game, because it feels like a natural progression. Like, they start with their most popular, and then they go with someone who's a little bit more obscure, hasn't had a game before, but would work really well, and his gameplay would be close enough to what Spider-Man's is for it to work. Another thing that I want is kind of a better villain. I'm not saying Doc Ock isn't a bad villain. Doc Ock has done his best in that. And like what we may be seeing is like the lead up to Superior Spider-Man with Doc Ock, because it looks like they're making him more of a sympathetic character, and they might be leading into him becoming an actual hero. Like, we're going to see the Superior Spider-Man show up at some point. I don't know about that. It would be cool, but I don't know if Superior Spider-Man is like enough of a marketable IP to turn into a video game. And I just said, why not put Daredevil in the game? But, you know, why not? If they can put the Winter Soldier into a movie and have him be like one of the most popular characters by saying nothing, then I think Superior Spider-Man is warranted an appearance in a game. I just feel like that would be cool. But what I mean is, like, Mr. Negative was like in all of the promotional stuff for Spider-Man, and it came out, and he was kind of a bit of a letdown. There wasn't this big mystery behind finding out who he was. I mean, if you read the comics, you know who he is. But if you didn't, like a lot of people playing the game, like you'd want a bit more of a mystery behind that. But no, it turns out you find out 5 hours into the story, oh yeah, it's Martin Lee. Because he just says so. You know, it's not really a big mystery that you find out like right at the end of the game that it's Martin Lee, like right after you beat him. It's like you find out very easily, and there's not really much build up to it. It's just kind of there for the sake of being there. And like, I just want there to be either a villain that's built up a bit more, or that's done a bit more justice. I feel like they can do that with Miles, because Miles has the Prowler, who is also his uncle, who's an amazing villain if they do him right. And he was the best part of Into the Spider-Verse, but they just, didn't do anything with him in that. So hopefully they do justice to the Prowler in this. I hope they do, because Insomniac, when they do a good villain, they do a really good villain. And the last thing that I want to see is, in Ultimate Spider-Man, which is a game that's very old, that I don't think a lot of people played, because it's Ultimate Spider-Man, it's based on the Ultimate comics, and that's a very niche like section of the fan base that's like into those and knows what those are. So I think the only people that bought that game were people that knew of the Ultimate Universe, or people that were just like, hey, Spider-Man, and then played it, and they were like, why does Green Goblin look like the Hulk? So it's like, yeah, it was a really good game when it came out, and it still is amazing to this day, and it still looks fantastic because it's cel-shaded. But one thing that they do that I really liked is that their use of the shocker in that. You fight him, and he's a really easy boss fight, but you can just fight him as a regular enemy, like later on in the game. I feel like they should do that in this, but they should do that with like the superior foes. And this is something that Professor Thorgy mentioned in a live stream a couple weeks ago. The superior foes are kind of like the perfect joke villain, especially Boomerang, because of course, why not? You know, it's an easy villain. You can fight these characters like over and over and over again, and they're gonna be relatively easy to beat. Like, you've got the Beetle, the female Beetle. You've got the fast guy. I can't remember what his name is, but you've got the Speed Demon, I think is his name. You've got the Big Wheel, Boomerang, obviously. The Living Brain, but I don't know if they're going to use the Living Brain. And someone else. I can't remember who all of the superior foes are, but I just think the superior foes have to be in this game. Or if you don't want to do all of them, just have Boomerang be the recurring joke villain, because it works. That's just a good model, because it will show how much if you have him be a proper boss fight at the start of the game, and like throughout the game, like you fight him multiple times, and throughout the game he gets easier and easier to beat. It shows like the progression and power level rising of Miles Morales. It shows him getting more used to being Spider-Man. The fact that this like relatively low level villain is becoming easier and easier for him to beat. Like at the start of the game, you can show him like he almost dies fighting Boomerang, and then at the end of the game, he like beats Boomerang with one punch. Like that would just be like cool to see for a narrative perspective, and as a gameplay perspective, having a villain that shows up as a normal enemy just be cool. So yeah, that's what I would like to see in Spider-Man Miles Morales. I think the game's going to be phenomenal, and I think at least some of the stuff that I've noted down here will end up in the game. I don't know how much, but I hope a little bit ends up in the game. Especially the Prowler. I hope the Prowler is done really well, because Into the Spider-Verse just ruined, not ruined, but it didn't do justice to the Prowler. It didn't do the Prowler nearly as well as it should have done, and it could have done with what was pre-established. He should have been the main villain of that movie. He should have been. I don't know why they chose Wilson Fisk. What the fuck does he have to do with anything? He's a Daredevil villain. Why is he in a Spider-Man movie? I know he fights Spider-Man, but why is he in a Spider-Man movie? But anyway, I already did a video about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse and why I don't get why it's so beloved. But yeah, that's what I want to see in Spider-Man Miles Morales. I'm super hyped for this game. I can't wait to be able to actually play it. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.